What's going on, everybody? LK here. So again, we're going to be looking at characters in Guilty Gear Strive. We talked about the best characters, we've talked about the worst characters. Past couple of videos, I've been trying to talk about more controversial characters that are in the middle, either upper middle, lower middle, however you want to call it. Since I talked about Soul, of course, we have to talk about Kyle Kiske. So if you had the chance to play Guilty Gear Strive during the closed beta, Kyle was actually really good in the closed beta, like really good, probably the best character in the closed beta. So of course they broke his ankle. So the version we got on release, Kyle was noticeably weaker. Nerfs include Stun Dipper not leading to a hard knockdown anymore, it's soft knockdown instead. Stun Edge being much more punishable than before, among other nerfs. So they've been buffing him over time though. But the thing is, any changes that he tends to get, people are like, oh, he's a top 5 character, and then people get pretty disappointed when later on in the patch, these changes don't reflect that. So let's look at Kyle as a character, pros and cons, and how he fits into Guilty Gear Strive. So once again, let's start positive for Kyle. So his first major pro is that he's really good at neutral. So speed-wise, he's pretty fast. There's a reason why so many Kyle players think they can run at you from full speed and throw you. It's because he can get over there, you know. He's really good at controlling ranges around him as well. So he has far slash, 2S. 2S being a low is quite notable in this game. Having a far-reaching low is usually a good thing. You could look at Nagoryuki, for example, or Happy Chaos. They both have really good far-reaching lows. In the case that people are waiting at full screen, he has projectiles, and also a projectile that kind of forces you to act if you're playing too defensively against him, as well as air projectiles too, to protect himself and cover space, just depending on where you are. For close range battles, he has 6P, a very strong 6P, and relatively large kick buttons like 2K, 5K. He's also pretty good at converting neutral situations into good damage, so his standard hits don't really lead to that much in a meaningful way, so you can get something like this, for example, or this. From far pokes, he tends to convert into Stun Dipper. But on the off chance you catch something like a backdash, he's actually very good at confirming combos on people who are already launched for some reason, especially backdash. Then we should talk about defense too. So he has meterless reversal options. So he has this, Vapor Thrust, and the Heavy Vapor Thrust. So specifically his S Vapor Thrust is slower than your typical fast reversal. Most of these are 9 frames, his are 11. But despite him having a slower reversal option, I feel like this mattered more when the game came out, where characters like Soul and Leo, they all had their 7 frame reversals, and they were really hard to safe jump, while this was relatively easy to. Now that the fastest reversals are 9 frames, I feel like they line up a little bit with Vapor Thrust. And it doesn't change the fact that he's able to challenge where other characters cannot challenge. So having that extra thing to worry about is a good thing. Then he has pretty easy access to his power-up state, right? So he has Shock State. So anytime they block this move, or the Fireball, or this Fireball, he will put on Shock State on the opponent and it powers up his special moves. Specifically, they add frame advantage to his moves, the main one of note being this move. Because normally this is like -2, but with this on, it becomes heavily advantageous and very easy for him to continue his offense. So you can get a combo, for example, into it pretty easily, or just from playing neutral, you could chill here. Now they have to worry about this, you sending it with this, and they have to try to react to it in neutral, which lets you do other stuff. Anytime he gets a throw, he basically will get this on you. So it's pretty easily accessible, which is nice. And then last, he has some unique comeback potential because of Dragon Storm. So they keep buffing this move, and it's actually pretty easy to access now. Right now the CPU is still set to backdash after blocking something, so if there's a gap, they'll try to backdash it. And so he has like an airtight string into Dragon Stall that leaves him advantageous, which is pretty strong. Dragon Stall also changes frame data on special moves, but the main ones of note are, again, Food Rock, but then also Charged Stun Edge as well. Has significantly more frame advantage than normal. That combined with his greatly increased speed makes him pretty scary, and you can set this up from a position of advantage, which is nice. But this leads us to his cons, because Despite these strengths, he has one major weakness in my opinion. But this is always the reason why he will be relevant. Like, he can always fight characters, but this is always the thing that keeps him back, let's say. And specifically, it's about his offense. So he's a strike throw character. There are many characters who win with strike throw in this game, but out of the majority of them, he is not only the most committal to strike throw, but he gets the least from it, and he takes the most risks while he's doing it. So for this, it's like you have to look at the rest of the cast and what they have to help them with this, right? So he neither has a +3 normal, so Soul has +3 normals and then insanity return when he's correct, right? Kai's return is also very good, but he does not have as much frame advantage to work with, both from close range and from far range, where Soul has the +2 far slash and the +3 close slash. Kai also generally doesn't have a thing covering him while he tries to go for a strike throw. So an example would be Faust. Here's an example with Faust that comes up pretty often in matches if he gets many Fausts. You might have seen this before. So here he's going to command grab. But what happens if I try to jump this command grab is here, 1, 2, 3. And see how the mini Faust kind of just covers him? Even if I counterattack, the mini Faust covers him. So it's a pretty scary 50-50 situation. There's coverage there. It's really low risk for Faust. Where again, Kyle kind of has to just call you out on his own here. He also doesn't have a command grab, so he can't use the threat of command grab to stop people from throw attacking in some situations. One character you see this really often with is Nagoriyuki. So one thing that Nagoriyuki players do sometimes is they do guessing games with far slash, right? So they'll do far slash full, sometimes with no meter. They'll do far slash back Fukyo, and they'll do far slash 2 into command grab. Since Kai has a DP, he can try to challenge the third hit, but they can use meter to try to stop you here. So if they do it right, this turns into this. But that's not the only way they can mess with you with meter. So here's an application using fast PRC into command grab. So the threat here is that the command grab cannot be thrown. Command grabs beat throw, right? So if you're trying to mess with him here by, let's say, trying to react with throw, for example, you will just get grabbed, which essentially makes it so you have to jump because he's going to grab your reversal as well. So being forced to commit to the jump means that he could do other things, because now I'm thinking, oh, he's going to try to grab after the fast PRC, so I try to jump and I get hit by 2k. So it turns into a pretty direct guess on both sides, but the enforcement of the situation is on Nago's side. He shows you stuff that you can't really deal with, and each thing only loses to one option, so you get put into these type of situations. So as far as Kyle goes though, his is very direct. Like, he just doesn't have any sort of thing to help him enforce unless he gets shock state. When he's in shock state, he does have the threat of this being very plus to use against the opponent, and he does have some unique throw situations like using 5k after throw. While he does have a couple of strong ways to do it, he is basically the one doing it to you, and he has the least amount of ways to make it better or a scarier situation compared to other characters. So he has to just overextend a ton on his offense, and almost everything that he does is negative or has like a gap in it or something like that. In addition, he's a character that people use as an introduction to some of the passive defensive options in the game, like instant block. He is quite weak to instant block, especially this move. So this move, if you instant block it, he is going to be punished for sure. Where the pushback is normally something like this, where he's able to be safe, no problem. Some of his core strings use Dire Claire here, and your ways of going into them are also negative, things like sweep, for example. So on his offense, he has to commit very hard in order to do what other characters do in a much safer way. So how does he fit into the game then? So he is in a very interesting spot where he has this big flaw. Basically his offense. It's hard for him to enforce offense. He has to take a lot of risks on his own offense compared to other characters who are strike throw. But because of his neutral, he endures in the game and is basically always relevant. He was one of the early characters we saw people select against Nagoriyuki, for example. Two-step characters aren't that big of a fan of fighting him. And he's able to enforce his defense pretty well on characters like Baiken, who have problems dealing with Stun Dipper as a reversal. To be honest, myself personally, I tried using him against heavy characters, so Nagoriyuki, Leo Whitefang, and Gold Louis Dickinson, because his neutral control is pretty good. He's good at controlling space around him, and he's good at playing full screen. When the game came out, one of the characters he struggled against the most was Ramlethal, because Ramlethal did not need to use passive defensive options to punish him just attacking, right? So she could attack Stun Edge and punish him, she could block Dire Claire, punish him. But outside of her, there's not really a character that like beats him down terribly. It's one of those things where like his neutral tools are fine, but you don't feel good on offense because everything you're doing is disadvantaged and you feel like you have to take big risks all the time. His speed keeps him in play against characters like Zato or Happy Chaos, but then his neutral control keeps him in play against slower characters or characters that have more linear mobility like Ino. So despite everything, I think he is like a definition of a mid-tier character. Because of the way he is, they gave him like a ton of buffs in Season 2 that a bunch of other characters got. So many characters got things like far slash buffs, 2S buffs, 2K less pushback, frame advantage added to close slash, buttons launching higher like jump P and jump K. Many characters all got these things. But then they also got other stuff. So Baiken also got this being plus, this better hitbox, this better hitbox, this pop up more, this pop up more. But then she also got stuff like S tether being plus. So she got things that not only all the other characters got, but then also things unique to her that affect her game plan in a positive way. Where Kyle, because he has such a basic win condition, he didn't really get anything like that. Like if you wanted to put an argument for anything, I would say it was his ground throw being buffed last patch. The buff specifically being that it just has less recovery, so he has more frame advantage than before. But outside of that, I wouldn't really say they gave him stuff to make his specific thing easier because he doesn't have one. So even despite that, so because he got all these things, so everyone's like he's top 5 right away, but everyone, not everyone, but many characters got that. So he doesn't really stand out in that regard. So all around, good character, definitely not top tier, will always exist in the game, but as long as he has this problem with offense, I don't think he'll ever be like a straight up top tier, runs the game type of character. He's always going to slide in as like relevant character, does well against some important characters, especially characters that they keep buffing, like Faust for example, but probably the definitive mid-tier character. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.